We are live. Welcome to Tremors from the Heart. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunavitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Batamscha Viraya Virachandraya Aksha Gauranga Namine Kalikapatram Prabhambande Dwarkadisha Priyatmane Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kantararakant Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Namah Shri Nityānandaya Janavi Pataye Namaha Namah Shri Krishna Swarupaya Namami Rangamanjarim Vasudha Janavi Kantam Shri Nityānanda Mishwaram Manangamanjarim Rupam Avadhutam Namamyaham. Jai Guru Nityānanda, Jai Guru Nityānanda, Jai Guru. So in today's episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about sadhana and the role sadhana has played in my spiritual development in my life and what that has entailed for me. So when we talk about sadhana, we're talking about daily practice. We're talking about the development of our spiritual awareness, spiritual understanding, and level of bhakti or devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for me in my life, I think sadhana started early on as religious observance because I was born into the Hare Krishna society. It was my religion. It was what we did on a daily basis. We lived on farms often, so that meant the morning program. It meant the typical ISKCON bhakti experience. And I wouldn't say I was a sadhaka at that time because I wasn't engaging with that consciously. I was doing that because that was what we supposed to do, and I was waiting till I could go outside and play most of the time. I did develop a liking for kirtan though at a very early age. I thought mridanga sounded great. I really liked my dad singing. I liked the way it felt. Overall I really enjoyed kirtan. But when I actually became a sadhaka or a person practicing consciously spiritual life was more in my teenage years. Around 15 or 16, I decided to give a good read of the texts that we had in our religion. And I started with the Bhagavad Gita. And the Bhagavad Gita outlines three primary forms of yoga. And that is karma yoga, or the yoga of action, jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge, and bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion. So as Hare Krishnas, we grew up practicing bhakti yoga, but looking at the spectrum of what it meant to follow each of these margs or paths, I realized as a person who had desire to experience the world, to experience life, to get married, to have mundane experiences, to have normal experiences on the human level. Not mundane, they're all spiritual, but I would say normal human spiritual desire. Normal human desires. I had normal human desires. So I decided that, and through my mentor's teachings, that meant that karma yoga was the first step in the path. And karma yoga really is about making everything you do in your normal day-to-day as an offering. And so your job becomes your puja. You're taking care of your body, taking care of your family, taking care of your partner. That becomes your yoga. All of these things become dedicated to the Supreme Lord, to your whatever conception you have, whatever feeling or idea you have of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You dedicate all your activities to that person. In the beginning of your day, there are certain mantras that you can recite to kind of prepare your mind for this concept that whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to try to do that for you. And I'm hoping that you're happy with whatever I've engaged my body to do. So, and at the end of the night, you're also remembering that you dedicated all these activities. You're offering those activities at the end of your day, saying, oh, I did this, this, and this. My job went like that. My relationships are going like this. I had fun. Maybe I had a hard time, whatever it is, good, bad. Maybe I had a nap, whatever it is. You went to the gym, you played sports, you went to school, whatever it is that you did that day. You're saying, God, listen, I'm going to offer that to you, that I did that for you, even though it just seems like I did it for me. I'm going to dedicate the fruits of the results of my activities to you. I'm going to give whatever good I accrued, whatever bad I accrued, I'm going to give that to you. And the result of that kind of yoga, that kind of mentality, is that you develop conscience and you develop the ear to hear conscience, and you become less desirous, and you start to be more selfless in your activities, and you become more conscious in your actions towards others, and you become more conscious in your relationships, and you're seeing God in all these exchanges that you're having every day. So that is like the beginning ladder of what it means for us in Vaishnava yoga and Tantric Vaishnava yoga. That means becoming a human being. Nara, a human being is not just a person in a human body, but a person who has realized what it means to be human, realized what it means to live amongst other human beings, realize the importance of their own existence as a human being, and dovetailing whatever nature that particular human being has acquired through conditioning, through culture, through life experience, dedicating whatever that is, whatever that has become, slowly being 100% transparent with your Ishtadeva, with the God within you, with the God above you, with God, becoming more and more transparent, giving all of this good or bad, whatever negative tendencies you might have, whether it's addictions or vices in general, or just an inability to manage your temper, whatever it might be. Even those things are offered. Even those things are given. They're like, they're signs of your humanity. They're your flaws, but they're also a part of who you are, what makes you you. So you're giving all of those things as well. So that karma yoga comes in as a real way to just instantly integrate your whole being into your spiritual path. And when that takes that comes to maturity, you find yourself ready for the next stage. You find yourself ready for yoga, ready for real meditation, ready for real darshan inside. And this is where the next phase of yoga in my life, I would have to say that also, just to asterisk the way I'm chronologically describing the flows, a lot of these things were learnt all together in a big kitchery, in a big mishmash. But through my life, it was unpacked. And I would say it was unpacked in a sort of sequential, but at the same time, all together way. So I'm just kind of describing the important applied technical teachings of Vaishnava Dharma, of the yoga that I've employed in my own life from birth in the Hare Krishna Society till now. And it might be different for other people, and people might just go on the straight path right back, and other people might take the krama or the sequence like me. Because when you realize that you're born in the Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga is the way it is for a reason, you need all the help you can get, and you need to start from where you are. So deciding how to take up sadhana is about recognizing where you are and starting from there. So as like an overall general principle, bhakti yoga never was set down. I never left bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is the main foundational principle in infinite self-realization. In the fact that once you're self-realized, once you get to the goal of self-realization, you still have infinity or eternity to live through. So then it becomes more interesting for the yogi to engage in Leela with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means engaging in relationship with the Lord through one of the 5 primary mellows or rasas. So that's how you spend eternity once you've woken up again. Sadhana, the really interesting stuff for me came after a few kinds of initiations into mantra and mandala. And so this is the repetition of japa or mantras that are designed to help awaken various states of consciousness and connect you to various deities who also are essentially waking up the awareness in you of various truths, various realities, various tastes or rasas. So it gets very experiential on that level, and sadhana starts to come alive, once things are very theoretical until experience happens. There's so much detail that you could go into. There's so many paths that you could go into when you look at Eastern mysticism and the religions of India and all the various kinds of Sanatana Dharma. There's so many paths. You could get lost. You would never be able to read all of them, and you would never be able to perfect even one if you had spent the time trying to read all of that. So the main thing is to have a sense of the goal first. And when you have the right teacher, that right teacher is going to explain to you that the goal is love and the recognition of reality. So those things go hand in hand. The Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the most important sacred text of Vaishnavism, of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, starts by saying that what we're meditating on here, Param Satyam Dhimihi, the highest truth is what we're meditating on. So yogis are realists. They want to see reality. They want to actually have the witnessing of reality and the meaning of life, and what it, to answer the question of who am I, and also just to actually really grasp reality. So that's the actual pursuit. And then when reality is recognized by the yogi, then slowly, in accordance to the depth of that revelation, the depth of that realization, love for reality and all its constituents blossoms. So we have this prema pumartan. So the fifth purushartha in Sanatana Dharma culture is called priti or prema. So that's the goal of our sadhana. We want this prema bhakti. It's an experiential taste that is derived from appreciation and service to God. And the actual proof that it's real is in the experiencing of it. When the Lord actually, you could say, touches the yogi, comes into proximity with the yogi, reveals himself to the yogi through his name, form, or qualities, or the remembrance even of the name, form, or qualities of his person, then the yogi experiences ecstasy. This is deep states of empathetic love turned up to the maximum, coupled with the feeling of separation from the beloved, which is pain to the maximum. So the intensity by which a yogi is able to feel this love of God, that's the actual measure of his love for God. And the process by which we get to experience love of God is sadhana. And one who is engaged in this full sadhana, he's a bhakta. But he has to understand that he's going to practice karma yoga. He's going to practice dhyana yoga or hatha yoga, because he has to understand his human body. He has to actually develop his cognitive faculties by developing his body, his breath, his mind, his speech. These things are all need to be tuned to be able to receive the energy of bhakti, to receive the actual shakti that would actually cause some people to become completely overwhelmed. And even the last stage of of the descriptions of the sattvika bhavas, or the experience, the 8 kinds of ecstatic symptoms, the last one is death, because it can become so intense that the yogi will pass on into nirvikalpa samadhi or sahaja samadhi, or going back to Godhead, when they don't come back ever again. So sadhana is a broad term that should encompass the journey of the sleeping conditioned soul, the person who has not yet realized their own nature, to the maximum potential of love of God at the highest degree, which culminates in Mahaparinirvana, or the final attainment, the final journey back home, back to Godhead, where you don't return to human life again, because you don't need to. You've stopped playing the game of forget until you will again, until you choose to again. Janitai, Janitai. So some important concepts that were a part of this yoga for me was the learning Sudarshan Mandala. Sudarshan Mandala is practiced in Vaishnava tradition. It's a compact way to understand the formation of Godhead in our mind, in our being. And so we learn a few different mantras in that mandala. We learn the Sudarshan mantra. We learn the Astadasakshara mantra, or the was Om Namo Narayanaya, and the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and the Nrsimha Anushtup mantra, which is the Maha mantra from the last Kali Yuga. They say that in the last Kali Yuga, the process by which people became liberated was through the Nrsimha Anushtup mantra. It's a very, very powerful mantra for protection. And in this Kali Yuga, you have to learn how to navigate while protecting yourself, your spiritual self, your subtle self, your mind. There's so much negative influence coming in through sound, through subtle sound, through all kinds of things. So having means to protect oneself is very, very important. That's why we wear tilak, the sign that we wear on our forehead. It's not just for good looks. It's actually a way of charging and protecting the body and the subtle body. A mantran has to wear different kinds of clay on different portions of the body, charged with mantra, to protect the subtle body from outer influence, so that the mantras can actually build Shakti in the body, in the subtle body of the sadhaka, so that the darshan of the various deities can be perceived, realized, experienced. So that last mantra goes, Ugram Viram Mahavishnum Jwalantam Sarvatomukam Nishingham Vishnam Bhadram Mrityur Namam Yaham. And that mantra is very, 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 very powerful for destroying all kinds of negative fear, negative energy, negative whatever in your life. And also, this is the main one when you really want to start working on your own purity. When you want to redevelop your purity, maybe you've gone astray in some way. You want to redevelop your actual contentment and purity. Then the Nrsimha Anushtup mantra is very, very good, cleansing Muladhara chakra, purifying the body of lust, anger, greed. All the Sadripus get attacked by Nrsimhadev, so it's very, very powerful. Throughout sadhana, obviously, Maha Mantra has always been there. It's never something to be put down. For me, the Maha Mantra is like the foundational practice, japa and kirtan. In Kali Yuga, if you could only do one practice, it would be kirtan, sankirtan, getting together with your friends and family, playing musical instruments and singing the names of God. And in this Kali Yuga, we got Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It's very easy because Nitai, Lord Nityānanda, said that you could do absolutely nothing else but that, and he will assure your deliverance. In Kali Yuga, it's actually way easier than in other times where getting out of the cycle of samsara was so hard. It would take thousands of years of samadhi, thousands of years of practice. And in Kali Yuga, you get a lifetime as a human being, and you know anything about the Dharma, you know anything about Mahaprabhu, then you get that mantra. You could just chant that. You don't even have to do anything else. You live like your bum life however you want. You're just chanting that mantra on the regular. When you die, the gates of heaven open up. Here you go, right this way, as promised. You get to come in because you relied on the simple instruction. Maybe in your lifetime, you didn't get to experience all the kind of things you could experience as a living human being with faculties and in proper sadhana and endeavoring in the right way. Maybe you had to suffer a little extra during your life, but the darshan will come. So sadhana is about developing yourself. It's about developing your faculties, developing your understanding of your body, of your subtle body, your mind, your intellect, your judgment faculty, how you're constantly judging everything and everyone, and how to actually relax that and become equipoised, how to actually become equal to all, how to remain peaceful under pressure, remain peaceful under what's the word? Adversity. So yoga sadhana is not easy. And if you're lucky, you have a good teacher who can help you along the way. But waking up is not easy. Coming to realize what life is about is not easy. Seeing the way this world is now is not easy. But if we have a strong sadhana, if we have a strong daily practice, we can start to step into faith. We can start to step into faith that's based on experience, not on someone else's experience, but on your own experience. You get spiritual strength and divine pride. You start to understand that you actually are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. They're actually qualitatively one with the Lord. You're not an insignificant thing. Your life as it is, you. It's very special to be alive. It's not a little thing. And a yogi becomes more and more and more appreciative and receptive to life through sadhana. The easiest way is through bhakti. And then through bhakti, everything else will come. Everything else will be revealed very, very easily. You know, during this time, we're in a place in the world where there are so many problems and there are so many supposed solutions. But I think that the real solution to our global conundrums is for each individual to develop themselves, to develop their skills, their talents, to have a renaissance of art and craft. And that comes from people discovering themselves through their activities, through their action, through their art forms. Arts are pure self-expression. They're spiritual in themselves. They exist in the matrix of consciousness for a reason. We need to see the arts. We need to see people developing their human capacity. We need to see unity. We need to see unity, not a beige unity, not a just, you know, you don't just want to throw black in a bucket and say it's all the same. You want to see every unique individual thrive as they are, different. When you know yourself, you're not so afraid of other people and they're different because you know how different you are. You see the sameness in our difference. Most people do sadhana to get away from their life. And in my life, I've seen families ruined by the misapplication of sadhana, spiritual activities, and the pursuit of moksha, liberation, being done with material existence. And my sadhana has not given me that. My sadhana has given me an appreciation for life, an appreciation for the way in which God pervades our lives, in every small thing, in every large thing. And that I think the real problem is that there's a lot of people practicing and preaching without realizing. Because the realization of Sacinandana Vigraha, or the eternal, cognizant, blissful nature of reality, the conclusion is love, the total love. It's a game of hide and go seek. And the point is for fun, for the love of the game. You can do anything in this world and make it a yoga if you do it in consciousness of the self and in the super self. If you do it for the Supreme Being, not in a literal way. You don't have to give anybody your earnings. It's a dedication in the heart. It's a acknowledgement of the real doer, the real one who's the cause of all causes. The biggest obstacle in sadhana is ego and pride. Pride that comes from your attainments, pride that comes from your learning, pride that comes from even witnessing your own endeavor. And that's why it's really important to worship and connect with wrathful deities. You see, in Tibetan Buddhism, they worship Buddha in these very, very angry and wrathful forms. They're all very, very Shiva-like. They're like angry Shivas. And when we see deities in that way, they look like demons, but they're not demons. They're so, their compassion is so ignited. It's so profound that they take a wrathful form for killing all your ignorance, killing off all your kleshas and samskaras and vasanas and coverings of all kinds. They are so angry at all those things covering you from your own realization. They take that kind of crazy, wild form to shower that compassion on you when you see those deities, when you meditate on those deities and use their mantras and pray to their forms. Very, 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 very intense practice, but it works. You know, if you have demons, you need a scarier demon to chase them away. So Nrsimha Sadhana is very, very powerful. A lot of the Devi forms like Kali, Chandi, some terrible forms of Kurukula, very, very, very wrathful forms of the goddess, wrathful forms of Shiva. There are a few wrathful forms of Narayan. Sankarshan is considered to be wrathful. When we worship wrathful deities in our sadhana, then they help protect us a lot from subtle entities, which is something that you have to be aware of if you're going to start getting into, any of the real yogas, because you're going to become subtly aware and have sight to see or feel, perceive the movements and activities of the entities who live around us human beings in the underworld, in the different lokas that are there. So that's another aspect of sadhana. So protection is big in sadhana, doing kavacha mantras. I spent the last 20 years always practicing kavacha mantras. It's a very, very important thing to do, to have a sense of feeling protected by the Lord. Essentially, mantra is the vehicle in this age. So mantra is the basic sadhana tool. Mantra, yantra, tantra. So in the basic form, mantra is the spell, the yantra is your body, and the application is the tantra of what you're trying to achieve. So there's so much to this kind of knowledge. It's a very, very deep subject matter. I was going to do like a what is tantra talk, but it's so huge, and there's so much misconceptions that you end up just fighting misconceptions more than actually revealing or giving any of the knowledge that would be considered tantric. So in my sadhana as I developed in my sadhana, I realized that what I had essentially done was gone through a tantric path. I didn't set out to be a tantric or decide I was tantric. It was like, oh, that's what that is. Very good, very interesting. And seeing the history, the tradition of tantra, and how it infused itself in all the major religious traditions of India, is the practical side of Sanatana Dharma. There's the Agama systems, the tantric systems. And the main proof for Gaudiya Vaishnavas or Vaishnavas who follow Srila Prabhupada or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhaktivinoda Thakur or any of the Gaudiya Parivars, if they are confused about the importance or relevance of the Tantras, then they should just simply look at Jagannath Puri and the way Jagannath is worshipped in the temple there according to the Agama system. Everything that is done in Puri is perfectly according to the actual traditions, and the sastras that hold those traditions are very, very old. So when the concept of Tantric Vaishnavism ever comes up, then Puri, Jagannath Puri, is the main place, the main Tantric seat for Vaishnavas. All the Shiva Tantras, all the Devi Tantras, all the Vishnu Tantras are all practiced properly according to the seasons, according to everything that should be done. They're doing it there in Jagannath Puri. Even some Vamachar or left-handed practices are and have been practiced there throughout time in history. And so that gives an understanding of what there's a big, broad body of knowledge. It's a full system of self-realization that is essentially transposed to Vaishnavism or Jainism or Buddhism or Shaivism or Shakta, that follows a sequence of teachings and practices so you can realize God according to your taste. You don't have to be a Vaishnava. You could be a Shaiva and still get to the highest goal. You don't have to be a Shaiva. You could be a Buddhist and get to the highest goal. So it's about the free will to choose your Dharma and choose how you're going to apply sadhana in your life. And that's what Guru is for. That's what taking, ashraya of the Guru or shelter of Guru is for, finding someone who can guide you according to you, who you are, and help guide you on your sadhana, help point out the way that might be helpful for you. And that's something that is very hard to authorize, rubber stamp, or approve of in anybody. So it's something that you have to find. If you seek the Guru, you will find the Guru, and he will show you your way. So sadhana begins with that, really finding your Guru. I know my sadhana began when I found my teacher, my Guru, who changed my life by teaching me how to be a human being and breaking a lot of the spells of cults and religious dogma and all the different shackles of, normal sleeping jivahood. So through sadhana, we can actually have attainment. We can actually have experience and realization. It's not fairy tales. I think that's the main thing I would really like people to understand about spiritual life, about these kinds of practices, is that this is where This is where things get real. If you commit yourself to a spiritual path and go far enough for the door of experience to open, is very, very profound and very, very wonderful. And it's the pinnacle of human experience, in my humble estimation. There's nothing more profound than actual connection to God and the witnessing of that, and developing faith based on that and its repeatable or repetitive nature as it develops, as it becomes deeper in your life. In my sadhana, I would say that the do's and don'ts are really, really according to your capacity and your conscience. There's a lot of do's and don'ts in Sanatana Dharma, and it would be nearly impossible to follow all of them. So with the guidance of your teacher, with the guidance of your guru, and listening in to your conscience, you can follow a path that is neither too difficult nor too easy. A lot of the rules that get put in place as absolutes are completely irrelevant on higher levels, higher stages of practice. Because what I mean by that is there's a certain level that a person will get to where they realize that no matter what happens on the mundane level, their essential nature is always untainted. And Lord Shiva is displaying this by like dwelling in the cremation ground and covering himself in ashes of the human, burnt human bodies, and drinking out of a skull, and being naked and doing things that are just, and being surrounded by ghosts and goblins and ghouls, and he's yet completely unmoved and fixed in his transcendental awareness of his absolute purity, his part and parcel nature of Vasudeva. Shiva's always meditating on Sankarshan, who's his Atma, his Paramatma. Shiva's Atma is Sankarshan. So they're always connected. They're always part and parcel of each other. And on the spiritual level of consciousness, there's no such thing as impure, because it's consciousness. It's like the sky. It can't be tainted. It just can't be. That's how it is. When the mind comes in, then we experience all the tainting. From the dawning of the mind, we have thought in terms of good and bad. There's so much that could be said about sadhana. Like, there's books and books and books and books written. But essentially, this is your quest to find yourself and deepen your understanding of life, deepen your understanding of your relationship with the Supreme, and deepen your understanding and relationship with your mind, body, and speech, deepen your relationship with Shakti, or the energy principle, deepen your understanding and relationship with time. So many different things come into your awareness as you develop in sadhana. And daily practice is where it's at. Mantras themselves are like seed forms of like packed knowledge. So as you practice these things, it will come into your conscious awareness over time. Whatever you need will come through the sadhana. And I think a lot of people don't have the ability to maintain their sadhanas if they're alone. But I found it easier in my life when I was more in alone, or just with my wife, to do my sadhanas. There's something peaceful about that. There's something simple about that. There's something autonomous about that allows you to go deeper and deeper, allows you to explore, allows you to change things or try things differently. It prevents you from becoming stuck in a robotic or mechanical experience of your sadhana. Every day is the same thing, same song, same tune. And, the same way, if we repeat the same word over and over and over again, it loses meaning. If you If you do your sadhana the same over and over and over again, always the same, it loses the feeling, loses the freshness of your attention, and you can become bored and stagnant. And that's something definitely you don't want in your sadhana. You want your journey to always be filled with wonder. You want your journey to be always filled with newer and newer revelations and experiences that push you further, push you more and more on the path. The rule of sadhana that I really believe in is trying to act in a way that is kind, compassionate, and caring to other living entities. Trying not to have an envious, jealous, or hateful attitude towards others. And maintaining sort of equanimity. The way you treat people is actually the symptom or sign of your spiritual attainment, because it's how much are you seeing the living principle. Like, it's pretty obvious. How well are you treating that object that you're adoring through your sadhana when you see it wherever it is? You know, unfortunately, for a lot of people who are engaged in religious life, they're adoring Father up top, but forgetting the Holy Spirit that's in all of us. So we have to be very, very attentive and personal and soft. We're not weak, but gentle, you know, caring. We're supposed to share the benefits of our spiritual realization, which, you know, which is healing, which is loving, which is nourishing. You know, through sadhana, a person can become a full healer, a shaman, a person who's capable of interacting with all kinds of faculties and helping people in their journey. Because everyone's on this journey. Everyone, you know, Krishna says, all follow my path. Everyone worships me in, what is the verse? Everyone follows my path in all respects. Because everyone is essentially in their relationship with life as it is, going about pursuing their desire until they find out what they really wanted all along and enjoy the reunion, the fulfillment of their desire. So sadhana is a very, very powerful thing. And if you engage in sadhana for long enough, wonderful things are possible. And I really encourage people to take this new opportunity to learn, to reflect, to pray more. Because during times of difficulty, we find that a bit more natural. To take up sadhana, daily practice, both spiritual and in some form of art, in some form of craft, in some form of self-perfection. Those things go hand in hand. You make yourself incredibly useful when you develop skills. And you'll know why when you develop your spiritual skills. I think I'm going to end it there, and I will see you next time. I'm going to be doing these talks on Mondays, so I will see you next Monday. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this was not too long and too much of a ramble. That was me for the day. Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Tiny Temple out.